caffeinated? I'm just checking. Well, I am so honored to be here. I love your pastors. I've known Elaine for like 1,000 years, a lot of years, since she was a punk. So I've known her a long time. And I just want you to know that I honor you guys. Thank you so much for having me. And don't you love your pastors? They're like real deal people. Real deal people. Listen, I lived in Los Angeles, the city of fake. I can't cope with anything but real. So I'm really grateful for real people. So thanks for being here. And I want to say hi to Magnolia. So glad you were joining us right now. Way to go. And also, tengo amigos aquí que hablan español. Bienvenidos a la casa de Dios. Estoy muy contenta de estar con ustedes. That was just for my peeps over here. We're going to have a small group meeting later. A number of years ago, I was coming down to make breakfast, as you do. When my kids were little, the breakfast show to get everybody out of the house. And those of you who've had young kids, you know that feeling. And so I'm coming down to make breakfast. Now, the first thing we do, is we make coffee. Any coffee fans in the room? And I'm a little bit of a diva about the coffee situation. So we would do it 1 cup at a time, where the pour over and you have the special beans with the right kind of oil. It's just like this anyway, my husband, he's the one that made me do it. So he trained me to make coffee like this. And so I just became addicted. So that's how it is. So this morning I'm making it and I'm not fully paying attention. And I began to pour the water over this, this concoction, and then it spills on my arm. So now I'm in agony because I have a burn down my arm and I'm trying not to scream. I'm like, anybody ever been burned? You know what I'm talking about. It hurts. And so I fill up the sink with water and some ice cubes, and then I stick my hand in there like, great. And then I carry on with this hand stirring what needs stirring because, getting everybody out of the house, got breakfast to make. And so I'm like doing this, and my husband comes in the kitchen, and he looks at me, and he goes, what are you doing? And I said, well, I burned myself, but I think I'm okay because it doesn't hurt anymore. And he said, So he moves the ice cubes out of the way, and excuse me for being a little graphic. He says, Holly, there's like blood vessels like floating around, and layers of your skin have peeled off, and I don't think I'm supposed to be seeing all that stuff. And so I look, and it looks really gross. But I said, but it doesn't really hurt. And he goes, well, let's look at it better. So he pulls it out, and then, of course, now I'm in agony, and I stick it back in there. And then he calls the doctor, and they say, well, take a look at the arm, and if the burn is all the way around, then that's where there's a problem, because then her hand could swell up and fall off or something. So, I had plans for both of my hands that day, so we decided to go to the ER. So we wrap it with ice, and we put a towel on it, and we get to the ER, and, Los Angeles, listen, if it's not, blood coming from all sorts of places or, a million gunshot wounds, then you're not being seen right away. So I'm standing there leaning against the wall, waiting to be seen, and by now the ice is melted, and I am in agony. I am in so much pain, just, burns, they hurt. And so I'm waiting, and then they eventually see me, and the doctor looks at it and goes, yeah, this really, you did something there. This really is a serious burn. And so they begin to wrap it, and they put stuff on it. And then the nurse says to me, I can tell that you're in a lot of pain. I'm like, what was your first clue? All the words I'm using or what? So she said, yeah, I can tell you're in pain. So I'm going to give you a shot that is a painkiller that will take care of the pain. And I'm like, bring it on. Come on, hurry up. And she said, no, it's a shot called Demerol. We're going to give this to you. And in a minute, you're going to start to feel a little woozy. And I'm saying, I don't care. Bring it on. So they give me this shot, and sure enough, within a few minutes, it's like, ooh, this is good. Ha-ha. I'm just woozy. This is amazing. And the pain starts to kind of go away. But it's just like, things are shifting. And then the problem is I must have had some sort of reaction to it because my blood pressure just continues to plummet, and then I go into cardiac arrest. So I can feel my husband's face right here, and he's looking at me saying, she doesn't look very good. It's like, thanks, hon. And then I hear all the doctors saying, we need help in here. And so they get, they bring stuff in, and they do whatever they need to do to bring me back. So today, I'm very happy to be breathing in and out, in and out. But that's not the only kind of life that Jesus came to bring us, the breathe in, breathe out kind of life. John 10:10 says this. It says, the thief comes only in order to steal and kill and destroy. But I've come that they may have and enjoy life and have it in abundance to the full till it overflows. So Jesus has put this life inside of us, and yet I think there's a lot of us walking around like we don't have it. And then Jesus told us that in John 15, he said that we would have joy and that our joy would be full. And then in John 16, he says, this kind of joy no one can actually take away from you. And here's the why. Here's the why. Because the life that's been placed inside of us is actually not for us alone. Joy, living like the abundant life within us, it actually makes the gospel attractive. It influences people. And you and I were designed and created to be people of influence. We were created to influence our community, our world, our children, our spouse, our friends. We all will affect the lives of other people. So how we live, how we approach life, how we respond to challenges will actually influence those around us. Matthew 5 tells us why we're here. This is Jesus talking in what is his longest recorded sermon. He says this, let me tell you why you're here. You're here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? Because you've lost your usefulness and you'll end up in the garbage. So what he's saying is that you and I are here to be salt, influencing and changing our world for the better. But what is it about salt? What is it? Because salt just doesn't sound very cool. Right? You're here to be salt. I mean, there's just no Marvel character, salt man, gonna save the day. Right? It just doesn't sound very exciting. But in ancient times, salt was seen as a necessity of life because of its seasoning and preserving qualities. In fact, it was one of the most highly prized minerals. And in many societies, it was so highly valued that it was used for money. The English word salary comes from the Latin word salarium, which refers to payments that were made to Roman soldiers with salt. In fact, we still hear the expression from time to time that a hard worker is worth their salt. That's what it comes from. So today, Pastor Ethan, he's going to get paid in this service. I'm going to pay you for all of your hard work. In fact, you've done such a great job. Don't spend it all in one place. I gave you a raise. You've navigated a hard week. So Jesus is saying that we're supposed to be the salt that the world needs. So we all have this salt inside us, right? So we all have this salt inside us. And so there's a long list when I think about what salt does, but I'm just going to talk about a few. Well, salt heals, doesn't it? I mean, when you got a sore throat, what did your grandmama tell you to do? Gargle with salt water, right? And one of the definitions of healing is to alleviate distress. So basically, what it's saying is that we have been given the ability to alleviate distress. We've been given the ability, because of the salt that's inside us, to bring healing, to alleviate distress. And then what else is it about salt? Well, it seasons, doesn't it? It adds flavor. Who wants to eat eggs without salt? Gross, right? Makes things better. But the thing about salt is it's actually no good left in the shaker. And it just sometimes takes a little bit of salt to make a big difference. We're supposed to make the world better because we're here. I'm supposed to make the world better wherever I go. When I go to the dry cleaners, when I go to sporting events with my husband, when I go out to dinner, when I go hang out with friends, when I'm in a hard time, when I'm supposed to be making the world better wherever I go. Colossians 4:6 says this, let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. Now, what I found is that it's not always necessary to preach to everybody, certainly not to debate with them. but the way we talk, the way we act, the way we love life, the way we react under stress, whether it's at work or at home or at school, actually makes a difference. A few years ago, I was in a little car accident, and I was in the right-hand lane and was coming upon an intersection, and there was a car in the middle lane, and they decided to turn right into me. And so they turned right, so we had a little accident. Wasn't, massive, but it was definitely, we had to pull over. So we pulled over, and they pull in front of me, and I'm looking through my window, and I can see there's two of them in there, and they just their hands are going like this. They're just all intense. They're just going for it. And then one of the women, she jumps out of the car, and she comes back to my car, and I roll down my window, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe that was all my fault, and I'm going to be in so much trouble, and it's not even my car, and are you okay?" And I'm like, hey, I'm okay. Are you okay? Yeah. We'll exchange information, and we'll get it all sorted out, okay? So, okay, oh my gosh, it's just terrible. She just went on. So we exchanged information because obviously she's going to need to be fixing my car. And so then we would have conversations over the next couple of weeks while this process was occurring. And then in what would be our last conversation, she asked me a question. She says, "Well, my friend and I, the one I was in the car with, we have a little bet about what you do for a living." And I said, "Really? Okay." And she said, "So what do you do for a living?" I go, No, you tell me what you think I do for a living. And she said, "Well, I think because you didn't get angry, you were not very flustered at the whole car accident, I'm pretty sure you must be a psychiatrist." I said, "Yeah, no, I'm not." And then she said, "Well, then my friend must be right." And I said, "Really? Well, what does your friend think I do?" She said, "Well, my friend thinks because you were just so calm and peaceful and you never raised your voice, my friend thinks that you must be a yoga instructor." I honestly about lost it with that one. I said, "No, actually, I'm not." And she says, "Well, then shoot, what do you do for a living?" I said, "Well, actually, I'm a Christian. I'm a pastor of a church here in Los Angeles." Yeah, it was like this, crickets sound. And then she couldn't wait to get off the phone fast enough. She just didn't want to say, And then you know what? That made me so sad. Because Jesus has said the reputation we're supposed to have is if there's a heartbreak and a collision and a problem, call a Christian because they'll know what to do. If there's a divorce happening, call a Christian because they'll know what to do. If someone's sick and in the hospital, call a Christian because they'll know what to do. But that's not the reputation we have. Our reputation, sadly, is if you want judgment, call a Christian. If you want criticism, call a Christian. But that's not who we're supposed to be. We're supposed to make the world better. We're supposed to actually take away stress from situations. We're not supposed to be the ones causing stress. We have been given the ability to alleviate distress. See, Jesus is saying we're supposed to be the change the world needs. And back to Matthew 5, verse 13, Jesus said, if we lose our saltiness, then we'll be thrown out with the garbage. Now, that's kind of hard to understand because, if you were paying attention in science class, you know that salt, sodium chloride, which is salt, is a stable compound. But in Jesus' day, salt was collected from the Dead Sea, and it was often contaminated with other minerals and impurities. And so since the actual salt was more soluble than the impurities, then rain could just wash away the salt. So what was left was unsalty salt, and that was worthless. Now, the Greek word for unsalty salt that's actually found in Matthew 5 is the word moreno, which is where we get the word moron. So, I'm just saying, if someone's forgot that they're supposed to be the salt and they're just not acting well, don't go calling them a moron. I'm not giving you permission to do that. But you can say to them, you're just being a little unsalty today. And we'll know exactly what you mean. See, if a Christian is actually acting like one, we're supposed to bring out the flavor and make things better. Our presence, who we are, is supposed to make our neighborhoods better. So here we are today, right? We're a bunch of Christians hanging out in church. Awesome. We're here. But we can't just salt each other. It's like, how you doing? I'm good. You blessed? I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Are you blessed? I'm blessed. Oh, I love you. Me too. Hallelujah. I just blessed. This is so amazing. I just love us. We're just awesome. We're just awesome, awesome, awesome. No, our salt is supposed to go out there. We're supposed to take it out there, right? See, we deny the salt function when we totally withdraw, which is why we have to be careful about wanting to separate ourselves so much that all we end up doing is salting each other. Jesus said we're supposed to be in the world, but not of it. So in the world, not letting it contaminating us. But see, sometimes people think, we don't want to be contaminated by the world, so we'll just totally withdraw from the world. Now, in the Middle Ages, there were certain priests and monks who would shut themselves away in monasteries so that they could stay completely pure. And that might have worked in some ways, but it also caused the church to lose the influence in the everyday lives of most people. Now, both of my children played basketball from when they were little, all the way through high school. So I've been to like 1,000 basketball games at least. And what I've learned as I've watched all of those games, other than the fact that every referee is blind as a bat and needs the mama in the stand to tell them that was to a foul. Anyway, what I learned is that most games are not won with just a good defense. You have to go on the offense. You have to score baskets. So the church can't just stay in a defensive posture, which is what it would be all of us just remaining on our own little bowl here. We have to go on the offense. Matthew 16, Jesus tells us in that the gates of hell can't prevail against his church. Now, the gates of hell, where he's actually giving that message, he's looking at an actual location called the gates of hell. And it was an actual place near Mount Hermon in Israel that was dominated by pagan worship, including child sacrifices. So what he's saying is that the gates are holding people captive. See, gates are not an offensive weapon. When was the last time you heard, that person was just killed by the gate. Gates are chasing them down. I'm running away from a gate. No, gates are not offensive weapon. Gates hold people captive. So my job as a Christ follower, someone filled with salt, is to reach my hand through the gates of hell and rescue people. That's my job. Use what's been entrusted to me to rescue people who are being trapped by the gates of hell, who are being trapped in darkness. That's my job. That's my job. Salt is not designed to stay in the shaker. The church was never created to remain insular. And if we don't get involved, if we don't become the salt that makes things better, then who will? We're supposed to be the influence. And here at your church, there are so many ways that you can be involved, where you can use your salt. See, Christianity is not a behavior modification program. It's transformation. See, my relationship with Jesus is not defined by what I'm not doing. I'm not getting high, I'm not sleeping around, I'm not getting drunk, but rather our Christianity is defined by what we are doing. I am making a difference. I am loving people. I am being salt. I am being light, which is why we can't just isolate ourselves. We move from being the church to just doing the church when we stop salting and seasoning the world. And then Jesus continues with this thought in Matthew 5, verse 14. He says this. Here's another way to put it. Because he said you're here to be salt, and now he's saying you're here to be light, bringing out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. He said, if I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. And now that I put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Keep open house. Be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. So it's to be light. So what is it about light? Well, one thing light does is it exposes the darkness, doesn't it? Darkness is nothing but the absence of light. When the light comes on, darkness has to give way. And then light serves as a guide. Think about the lights on an airport runway. It helps the plane see where to land, or the headlights on a car show you where to go and not to go. When we try to drive in the dark or perhaps land in the dark without lights, it's dangerous. So we're supposed to be guides to people in darkness. How do we do this? Well, one translation of this verse in Matthew 5:16 says this: in the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. Ephesians 2:10 says, for we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God actually prepared in advance for us to do. So it is my doing the very thing I was created to do, which can lead other people to God. So what I've noticed is that the world pays a lot less attention to what we say compared to what we do. Oftentimes it is our good works which lead people to encounter the love of God. And light is to be seen. There's no such thing as a secret Christian. We're supposed to be light all the time. And the light in us doesn't shine so that people see the light as much as they see other things because of the light. So our light shines not that people are attracted to us, but to our Savior. You know, in Los Angeles, where we pastored a church for 35 years, so many people moved to LA to be famous. You know, they come there acting, they come there to be music or some form of entertainment or sports perhaps. And the thing about fame is that our DNA is not designed for fame. Just like our DNA is not designed to live underwater either. Our DNA is not designed for fame. We can't handle it. Only He is famous. So if in any area of our life we get recognition, and if we're doing our job well, we'll probably get some recognition. But if any area of our life we don't, in the quiet place of our heart, deflect it to Him, then we will implode. And I saw that time and time again. Good-hearted people come, and then this level of applause isn't enough. And then it has to be bigger, and then there has to be more people. They keep looking for that spotlight. So the light is not just to go, I'm amazing. It's to take the light that's been entrusted to me and lead people to Him. That's what the light's for. And then in verse 15, it says, we don't put that light, under a bucket. So in Jesus' day, the homes were generally dark, and they would have one little small window. I mean, obviously they didn't have electricity. And so their light was consistent of a lamp, and the lamp was basically a bowl that was filled with oil, and there was a wick in it. And when they needed light, the lamp was placed up on a lampstand. Now, the most difficult thing in having this light was lighting the lamp. And so as a result, nobody wanted to let that light go out because it took way too much work to get it lit again. But when people went out of the house, they couldn't just leave it burning right out there because it would be dangerous. So for safety reasons, they would take that bowl filled with oil, that light, and they would put it under this earthen vessel where it could burn risk-free. And then as soon as someone came back to the house, they took that off and they put it back on a lampstand. Because no one lights a light to keep it under a bucket. We're supposed to let our light shine all the time. Our light is to shine all the time. In the good times, the bad times, when we're feeling good, when we're not. And sometimes I think our light honestly shines the brightest in the darkest moments, in our own challenging times. Proverbs 31:15, there's a verse that challenges us to be people who rise while it is yet night. And that's not so much talking about the time of day, but rather when there is darkness and confusion and chaos all around, we're the people that rise. Do you think our world's in a little bit of chaos and darkness and confusion right now? I think God's looking for His church to be the people that rise. And honestly, in the midst of the dark times is when we can shine the brightest. A number of years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and began that journey. And one of the treatments that I, was required of me or asked of me was to have radiation therapy. And some of you have had radiation or people who have, and so you get it. And it's basically you go in every day for 7 or 8 weeks and they radiate a part of your body where the cancer is. And I just hated the whole thing. I hated that I was dealing with cancer. I hated the radiation. I just hated it. I was angry. So I come in on this day to my first treatment, and I'm in this waiting room, and I'm just mad. And I just sit on that chair, and I just fold my hands, and I wait for them to call my name, and they call my name, and then I go have my treatment, and I leave. And then the next day I come in, day 2, and I'm just looking down and mad. They call my name, I have my treatment, go day 3, you're getting the picture. I'm just mad, angry, frustrated. They call my name, have my treatment, I leave. And day 4, I come in, and I'm ready to have the same posture, and I put my head down, and I felt the Spirit of God say to me, look up. No, you look up. I didn't want to look up. I didn't want to know these people. But I knew what he was asking. So I looked around that room, and I saw people in far worse condition than me. I saw people who had had multiple limbs amputated. I saw people who were having radiation done to their head and neck, which is a different experience. And I overheard conversations, and I heard people saying that this was their last chance. And then I looked in the eyes of everyone in that room, and I saw fear, and I saw hopelessness, and I saw loneliness. So I knew what God was asking. He was saying, Holly, can you be my light here? And honestly, I didn't want to. And everybody would have understood, because after all, I'm dealing with cancer myself. Everybody would have understood if I just focused on me, if I just took care of, my pain, everybody would have got that. But God says to me, can you be my light here? Yes. So the next day, I come in, and I look around the room, and I've made cookies and brought them to everybody. They were like the disgusting, healthy, green kind. Nobody really wanted, but I inflicted them on everybody in that room. And I got phone numbers from people. I started having conversations with people. I met family members. Some of us, we exchanged gifts. So for the next 8 weeks, these were my people. These were my people. And so I don't know what situation or circumstance you might be in, but I'm just saying God is asking you, can you be my light here? I do know our world is in darkness, is in chaos. And God is saying, you can focus on you, but what I'm asking is, can you be my light here? Can you be my light here? Here. And I think God is looking for a company of people who will rise in the midst of darkness. I mean, honestly, you're looking at me, maybe you think, well, Holly, okay, easy for you to say, but my light's not very big. Well, maybe you feel like your light is no bigger, than my little iPad light right here. You can hardly see it right in this bright room. But everybody stay seated. We're going to do something. In Magnolia, you're also going to do the same thing. So everybody stay seated. This is a safety announcement. Okay. I'm going to ask the team to turn all the lights off. Magnolia too. Turn all the lights in the room off. So, now notice how this little light looks when it's surrounded by so much darkness. It's a lot brighter, isn't it? You could make your way up here easy by seeing this. It grabs your attention. See, our light is supposed to be a guide. So here's the light, like that we've been given, right? It's supposed to be a guide. It's not supposed to shine on me and go, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Like we're up here going, bless God, but really we're going, make sure you're paying attention to me. Hello. See, the light is not for that. And then it's also we're not supposed to take the light that's been entrusted to us and shine it on people to expose them. We're not supposed to go, you're just a worm. You're just a bad person. I can't believe you're voting that way. Are you sure you're a good person? You're bad. Look at that sin you have. Look at that choice you made. You're bad. But do you understand that's how we're known? As Christians, that's how we're seen. Is we take the light that's been entrusted to us and we shine it on people to expose their weaknesses, as opposed to going, hey, grab my hand. Let me lead you to him. Let me lead you to him. Hey, come on, no, I got you. Come on. Lead you to him. That's what that light is for, not to point out someone's flaws. You can turn the lights back on, and in Magnolia too. It's not easy to stay salty and shine brightly on our own. We were designed to spend time in community. In fact, Christianity was never just supposed to be about you and God. Otherwise, God would never have created Eve. Christianity, our faith was always about community. Jesus had a community. Faith is about community. Christianity is always worked out in community. And so God's plan is for you and me to be a city on a hill as his church. And no one can put a city under a bowl, which is why it's so crucial that you gather here. We got, maybe COVID, I know you guys cured it in Texas, but we didn't in California. And so, it was tricky. 18 months, there was no gathering, right? And so then it made people a little bit lazy about getting back together, right? Church, but listen. We are designed for community. Your faith will grow in community. Hebrews 10 says this, and let us consider and give attentive, continuous care to watching over one another, studying how we may stir up, stimulate, and incite to love and helpful deeds and noble activities. That's why you're here, so that you can be incited and encouraged to noble deeds. Oh, you love that. It says, not forsaking or neglecting to assemble together as believers, as is the habit of some people, but admonishing, warning, urging, and encouraging one another, all the more faithfully as you see the day approaching. See, when we shine together, we can reach far into the darkness. And when all the members of the church are letting their light shine as they should, the church is a force to be reckoned with. Jesus didn't ask that his followers be taken out of the world. In fact, in John 17, he specifically prayed that God would not take us out of the world, but that we would be protected in it. So he is sending us into this world, this 21st century world that is filled with immorality and iniquity and crime and violence and greed and heartbreak and pain, and the list goes on. And he is saying, be the salt, be the light, be the light. The world with all of its problems, with all of the violence and sin and confusion, was never supposed to be a threat to the church, but rather the mission field of the church. So because I found freedom and healing, I'm supposed to shine a light so that other people can too. That's why I'm still breathing, by the way. See, otherwise, as soon as you say yes to Jesus, why don't you just go straight to heaven? Well, the reason you're still here is because you have a mission to do. And it's to be salt and to be light. We're supposed to be the influence in the world. And the thing is, God doesn't have a plan B. We're it. His church, we're it. Which is why we don't just come to church. We are the church. And it's going to take all of us, each of us, taking our own light, living in our own lives. I'll never be able to influence the people you will. I'll never reach the people on your block, in your school, in your neighborhood. And you won't reach the ones I'm supposed to. But if we each just do our job, if we each take the light we've been given, the salt we've been entrusted with, and influence the people that God puts in our circle, that's how the world has changed. It's not changed by us getting angry and exposing people's sins. You just be the salt and light. You trust that the Holy Spirit, what he will do then. Matthew 5, he finishes this thought. He says, this is Jesus talking. I love how he says it. This is the Message translation. He says, in a word, what I'm saying is grow up. It says, you are kingdom subjects. I love that picture. We are kingdom subjects. We all love that song we sing about heaven as our home. But that's the reality. We are of a different kingdom. Jesus came to establish a different kingdom on planet Earth. It's not the Republican kingdom. It's not the Democrat kingdom. It's not a political kingdom. It's his kingdom. And we are his kingdom subjects. We can't forget that. And then he says, so live like it. Live like you're my kingdom subject. Live out your God-created identity. Live generously and graciously toward others the way God lives towards you. So I just want to challenge you, family. Today, let's make the decision to be the salt that our community so desperately needs. Let's be the light that our world needs because they're stumbling around in darkness. Let's be the salt and be the light. Yes? Yes. Okay, I'm going to pray for you. So if you'll just shut your eyes, and the reason we do that is honestly just to eliminate some distractions. It's just because we all have ADD. So just shut your eyes for a moment because I'm going to pray for you. I'm not going to embarrass you or anything. I just want to pray for you. So maybe there are some of you in here, and you've never actually made your peace with God. You've never surrendered your heart and your life to the God who loves you so much that he sent Jesus. And Jesus went to the cross and paid the price for every sin and failure in your life to give you a future filled with hope. So maybe you've never said yes to the love of God. Or maybe you're in here and at one point you were following Jesus. But maybe life got hard. You just went through some dark circumstances. I know what that's like. And if you were honest, you're not actually passionately following Jesus anymore. You kind of have one foot in and one foot out, or you know how to go through the motions. But if you were honest in your heart, you're not passionately following Jesus, then I want to pray for you too. So if you're in here and for the first time, you're saying yes to the love of God. Sometimes people think, well, let me get my life together first. You can't. That's why he came. And his posture towards you is welcome home. In whatever condition you're in, welcome home. So maybe you're ready to embrace the love of God with that welcome home, ready to receive forgiveness for your past and to be given a future filled with hope. Maybe you're ready for that. Or again, maybe there's some of you in here and you just have gotten weary. You've gotten tired and you're no longer really genuinely following Jesus. Got a little cynical. It's very easy to get cynical these days. Got a little apathetic. It's very easy to get apathetic. I know I've been there, had all those emotions. I just want to challenge you one more time today. Just get up, take one more step. Join me, one more step on that journey with Jesus. So I'm going to pray for you. And if you're here for the first time saying yes to the love of God, or you know it's time to get back up and take one more step, then I want to pray for you. I'm going to count to 3. And if you'll just put your hands up and put them back down just so I know who I'm going to pray for. And that's that. So if you're ready for the first time to say yes to the love of God, or you know it's time to get back up, don't let this day go by. This is a moment. Don't let a moment pass you. Then I want to pray for you. So 1, 2, 3. Just put the hands up so I can see it. That's great. I see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 12, 13. I see about 13, 14 hands, God, but you know who they are. You know their name. You know the situation and circumstance of their life. You know everything about them. And so, Father, I thank you, first of all, that they are just brave enough and humble enough to lift their hand, acknowledging their need for you. I thank you for that. And I pray, God, that today, by your Spirit, they would sense your presence just in a new way. That where there has been just this feeling of overwhelmed or confusion, that you would bring peace. And where there's been division or relationships that have broken down, that they're in the middle of, I ask, God, that you would bring reconciliation. You would bring healing. And I know, God, there are people here, maybe they raise their hands in, but just in the middle of sickness. And I thank you, God, you are our healer. And I ask that you would bring healing, strength to bodies, peace to souls. Everybody just take a deep breath right now. Just take a deep breath. Spirit of God, I thank you that you're going to bring peace to every person in this room. Right now, in this moment, in a world that's filled with confusion and pressure and tension, you bring peace. And for those of you that raised your hands, we're going to pray a prayer where we're going to pray it all together. Because again, Christianity is about community. So I want you to pray it with us and just believe these words as you pray it, but we're all going to pray it with you. I'm going to lead us in a prayer. Everyone say, Father, all of us, Father, thank you for loving me. Thank you for forgiving me. And from this moment on,